You're listening to the WB Download, coming to you from Wieland Builders Showroom in Studio 1C. We are a podcast centered around building custom homes, the customer experience of building a custom home, and a really entertaining listen from many great guests and interviews that may or may not have anything to do with building. I'm excited to share with you their voice and their stories that will enhance your idea of the custom builder world. Hello everyone, this is Jeff Wieland, president of Wieland Builders, coming to you from Studio 1C here in Wieland Builders headquarters. Time for another podcast. It's going to be the 28th of March on this wonderful day here. And thanks for joining us. Man, we're looking forward to this episode. The guest is none other than me, again, talking about building houses, talking about getting started building houses. We're going to go through what it means for architecture, selections, banking, just kind of getting into that first part of the building process and the preparatory work it takes to get there to start slinging some dirt and throwing some wood around. So, hey, glad you're here. Thanks for listening, and let's get started. All right, everybody. Hey, here's what's happening right now in the world. Today's Tuesday, March 28th, and this is I believe our sixth episode for the WB Download Wieland Builders podcast. And man, this week is opening day for the Cincinnati Reds, and I talked about it last episode. But we build a float every year for the opening day parade, and we took 2 years off or 3 years off, I guess, because 1 year was COVID. And we were fairly disappointed because we had the thing built and we were ready to go down there, and then they canceled everything in the world. And then the next year, the union negotiations between the players complaining about something, couldn't get together, and they kept moving the date. Well, we build this thing on our drag that we move our equipment around on because we do all our own excavation and excavate for other builders, and we couldn't keep the trailer tied up, so we had to take it apart and put it back away in the stack and get back to work. And then last year, things just didn't work out. I'm in a group called Builder 20, which is through our National Association of Home Builders. And we have 18 of us in this group and are all across the United States, from Seattle to North Carolina, 4 or 5 guys in Texas, Michigan, Tennessee. They're all over the place. And we act like each other's board of directors. Well, we meet twice a year. We talk all the time throughout the year on an email, but we meet twice a year, and we go to one of the builders' places and they host. And that was right at about the time that we had spring break last year, and we had our Builder 20 group, and we had opening day all happening at the same time, and I just couldn't make it work out. So we took that year off and spent time with my family in Houston and on spring break, which was one of the greatest trips ever because we just toured Texas the entire time. One of my favorite memories. So here we are back again this year on the float. Now, this is a big deal because it's not like we just put an old car in there and we just drive down the road. We build this thing from scratch. It comes up with an idea in this company here, or come up with some kind of crazy idea that I can get, that we try and make it go around building, around baseball, something to do with the Reds and something to do with Findlay Market. And so this year our theme is pitch perfect. And so we're trying to emulate setting a pitch on the roof. We have an organ sitting in the middle of the float, and then we all have choir robes on, and we look like we're standing around in a choir. And this comes from the movie Pitch Perfect, essentially, which is about singing. And then also from Pitch Perfect through pitching on a baseball field, our float is made, the field, it fans out on the back of it to make it look like a baseball field. We have a pitcher's mound in the middle of it where the organ will be sitting, and then we have a crane setting a truss that looks like a Swanson Speed Square on a little building that we built on the front of the float. And we build this all out of wood, scrap lumber. We try and save as much of the lumber year to year, and we stack it up in the back corner of the shop. We put banners down the side of it with the theme that we had for that year. And it's a good team building exercise. Something that I've realized now as I get older that I always ask myself, why the hell are we doing this? But it's also fun, and my kids are getting into it. My son and I have been working on this thing day and night, and then other people from the company come up when they can on the weekends. Their first priority is to build these great houses, but then when we get time, they come up here and we do this. It's good team building exercise. It's a good day to get out of the office, and opening day should be a national holiday, if you ask me. Since we're here in Cincinnati and we were one of the first Major League Baseball teams, that's why it's such a big deal. So we've won first, second, and third in this deal, and it's pretty cool because there's people who build floats in this thing that build floats in the Rose Parade who do it professionally for a living, and we're some old redneck sitting up there in our barn building this thing on the back of our drag and coming up with a good idea. So we're hoping that we're gonna run down that first place trophy again this year. But if we don't, again, it's still just a great experience for all of us. So that's what's happening Thursday this week, and opening day. So that means that that's the first day of spring in our world, if you're thinking about a baseball world, and we're going to kick it off. I talked to Bob Castellini, which is the majority owner, controlling owner of the Cincinnati Reds, years ago at the Cincinnati Zoo, and he said, hey, if you want to get your business involved in Southwest Ohio and Cincinnati, you got to get involved with the Reds and you got to get involved with the Cincinnati Zoo. We try and maintain that. While it gets expensive, we try and maintain both of those. And the way we got involved in the parade was my wife and I and my mom and dad were at a race, NASCAR race down in Talladega, and we were on our way back and we were just talking, and my dad said, I wonder what it takes to get into that parade. And I said, man, I always wondered the same thing. And that was in 2014 or 15. And ever since then, we've been doing it. So little history there. I like to keep it going because I think it's another legacy. I'm so much about legacy around here, and I think we could keep that thing going and just kind of make it our staple. We just closed on a home last week. I talked about it the previous episode, but we closed on a home with a wonderful couple up in Oxford, and this job was very unique because we took a couple years to get there, working with the couple, getting them through a couple design efforts and getting them to a place. They already owned the land up there. We had to do a lot combination, which they had two home sites that we had to combine into one through the county. And then once we got started, we ran into some bad ground, which is not uncommon. I bring this up because it's, again, a day in the life of a builder. It's not something that's uncommon when you get out in the country. You don't know what you're going to get when you get into that ground. And we ran into some ground that was a lot of water, and the soil just kept caving in, and it took us a little bit. It took us a lot of money and a lot of effort to get up out of there and get it stabilized and get it to a point where we could build on it. So that held us up a little bit, but it was a lot of hard work. We got there, we got done, and it's always an exciting day when we go to closing day. A lot of emotions, a lot of excitement, a lot of reflection, and man, it was just really cool. So I've been in contact with them a couple times as they've been moving in the last couple of days, and just fun to see everybody's efforts, the homeowners and our team and everybody come together and see that finished product and see them moving into their new home. It's one of the reasons why we do it. Man, it's cold here right now. It warmed up. We all thought that Punxsutawney Phil was a liar, which I still think he's a liar. But we thought that things were going to be good, and we had 70, 80 degree weather. And now here we are sitting here and almost towards the end of March, and it's been 30s and 20s, and it's cold, and I'm ready to move on, man. For me, this is just when we get to this point and it's just dragging on, and you get some poor weather and things aren't turning green, I get a little bit depressed because I'm ready to build. I'm ready to farm. I'm ready to get moving, get on to summertime. Let's get this thing out of here and move on. So we're still waiting on one more calf to be born, or two more calves. We got one in June. We got one more to come here, and watching her every day and every night, making sure things go smoothly with her. And we've got a couple things that we're selling. A neighbor of ours is another farmer down the road, is an auctioneer, and they've got a consignment sale going on, and we are selling a couple things down there. Different pieces of equipment that we've had through the years that we've either upgraded or don't use anymore. And so we're selling that kind of stuff. So some things that happen in the spring on the farm and here in the building business. And that's what's happening on March 28th. 2023 here at Wieland Builders. So, hey, let's get started with me, our next guest. I'm going to roll right into it because I need no introduction, and it kind of goes through a goofy little deal there. So, as we get into this, I want to go along the same timeline as what we've been talking about, how the process will and should work for you on your journey of your custom home. The last time we talked, you heard directly from me. We talked about finding your home site and finding your builder. Let's assume we've done both of those. What do we do now? What are we going to do? Well, now we've found a builder. We love this person. Let's get started. We, as a builder, need to know what you want. And so we have a meeting and we ask you a lot of questions. This is Wieland Builders, and I'm hoping that other builders do the same thing. And they're not just building it and hope you like it. Build it and they will come. Build it and they will love it. We ask you a lot of questions: what type of home, everything you want in your home, what it should look like, your style, your lifestyle, your family, and so much more. We need this information to put together a proposal. This detailed proposal will tell you what is included in the home. We give examples of allowances. So if we give you a $25 or $50 or $100,000 allowance in appliances, well, then we give you examples of that, because I doubt you go shopping for appliances every single day. And we want to make sure that we hone in on that. We give you examples of light fixtures and allowances that we include with that. If we've got a $25,000 light fixture allowance, and we show you not what you have to pick, but what you can pick, and what the caliber of the lighting is, and everything that goes with that. We give you the steps and the timeline associated with your journey through this build. And then the proposal will also give you what we call a ballpark cost, or a projected cost on the project. And we say projected because most of the time we're sitting there with no plans, and we have an imagination, an idea in our head, and we have just questions that we've been answered, but we have no plans. And just a few simple things could switch that structure up and make it so much different. So when we give you a price, we say it's within a certain percentage of what we believe it's going to take to build the house. If you're comfortable with that, then we move forward to the next step, which is our pre-construction agreement, which takes us into architecture. So we would arrive at this by you telling us your targeted goal and overall price of your home. So we can't just come out there and shoot in the dark. We have asked you, hey, where do you think you want to be at as far as total cost on your project? And that's what we aim for. And so that all, and then we take all the information from you and we say, this is what we can do it for. And here we are. So you love your builder, you love your proposal. Now, like I said, the pre-construction agreement, you should have, or your builder should have, a pre-construction agreement. Deposits, what work is going to be done, what is expected of the builder, what is expected of the customer, what is the timeline, expected cost. For Wieland Builders here, we do a design deposit agreement to cover the cost of the architect preliminary plans. Then we tier up to construction documents, which the first round of plans is typically on one of our architects. He hand draws everything. Really cool way of doing it. And again, I think I talked about this before. It was one of our milestones, and it's scaled drawing, scaled furniture into it. Does a front elevation, all the floor plans. Two of our other architects do it on the CAD file, and they do it in the plan or in the computer. And it's the same thing. It's what we call a block out drawing, and it has room size dimensions and has a front elevation on it. So we get through that. That's the first round. And then we get into construction documents, which is the actual plan that we need to build off of, to get pricing off of. It has the actual window sizes. It has the beam sizes. It has every single thing that we need to give you a real price. And then if we do any other work, we also have that in that pre-construction agreement. So if I'm doing a septic design, soil testing, plot plans, if I needed to do some clearing out there, we specify all of those things in a projected cost for it. And then we bill them directly as we're moving through that for each one of those items. Again, we at Wieland Builders are not making any money off of this at this point. We are trying to get you and us to a point to where we can give you a more accurate pricing and get moving towards contract. For everyone's sake, this is really important. And I think it's, start this at the beginning. Document everything. So sign off on everything. Make sure that you're signing some sort of document, and get into this habit right away so you continue to do it throughout the process. How many changes do you get to make once you get to the preliminary plan? What happens if the architect misses it completely? All the things you need to know, ask these questions. Now, for us, I don't know how I do know how we do it. We have very skilled professionals that we work with. Rarely are we missing the mark when he brings that plan out. I've never seen it where somebody said, nope, this is stupid, and I'm walking away. We've had it to where let's move this, dimension over here. Let's change this room. Let's make this room bigger. But that was it. And it was really it's always an exciting process, but ask those questions because you need to know, you need to make sure that somebody's not going to present you a plan and you say, no, I don't like this. And they say, well, this is all you're going to get. That'd be crazy. But, some builders will sign a pre-construction agreement and it's up to you to get the architect and the plans completed. And some builders just want you to get the plans completed and bring them to them. So the difference is for Wieland Builders and what we do, you come to us, and we are a design build. So we have architects that we work with, and 2 or 3 of them that we work with, and we have listened to what you have said, and we go to our architect, kind of go down through a tier of which ones we're going to use and the caliper of the project and what we're going to do. And we say, all right, and we go with you. We schedule the meeting. We pay the architect. We go with you to these meetings. We are doing selections along the way, and we're getting this thing started. And some other places, builders don't want to do that. And I know that in my Builder 20 group, there's a lot of guys that don't do that. And you go get your own designer, you get your own architect, and you bring them plans, and then they are the project manager throughout the process, which is also a really cool way to do it. If you, and for us here at Wieland Builders also, if you have your plan and you bring it to us and you want us to build that plan, we're okay with that too. We're fine with that. I'm just telling you what our normal process is. If you get your own architect, you need to be sure with the architect, and the same thing with the builder. If the builder's drawing plans, who owns the plans? How much does it cost? How the architect gets paid. Some architects charge a percentage of the construction costs with their fees. We've had plans that cost $5,000 and we've had plans that cost $100,000. There's a big difference in all of this. And if I present you with a pre-construction agreement and we say it's going to be anywhere from $7,500 to $15,000 for these plans, oh, well, I can go out here and get it done for $2,500. You're going to get a $2,500 looking plan. You're going to get a $2,500 looking house. It's very important that you pay attention to this. Same thing with if you're dealing with a builder and they're providing the plans. Make sure that there's a clear understanding of who owns those plans, because if you come to Wieland Builders, we own the plans. We have a copyright on those plans, which means that you cannot take those plans and go out and start bidding them out to a bunch of other builders, which if you're planning on doing that, you're probably not our customer anyway. But I want to make sure that everybody's clear with that, because I've had people show up here and they've got plans from another builder and they say, hey, will you price this out? And I'm like, hold on, back up. Let's talk about this for a minute, because number one, we won't do that. And number two, there's a rule. There's probably rules that you're not allowed to do that, and you think that you were. The difference between an architect and a draftsman, that's something that we want to talk about. An architect has the education, the certification, and the stamp that. So when we talk about an actual architect versus draftsman, an architect they can size the beams, they can size the headers, design load calculations, and overall make things work and look a lot better. And this is in my experience. I'm not saying that there's anything wrong with somebody who's a draftsman or anything like that. And probably the majority of the people who work for the architect are draftsmen, but the architect itself has a different ability. If you use a draftsman, you save a lot of money probably, but you will have to have a structural engineer size everything, and which will cost you more than what you realize. And we also build in so many different municipalities that many of the building departments require a stamp drawing from the architect. So if you get a draftsman, you have to have a structural engineer stamp that plan, and it gets expensive, and then it just doesn't look as good if you ask me. And to be clear, I'm not saying, again, that there's anything wrong with a draftsman. I don't want people calling me up and saying, what'd you say this for? You're ruining my business. That's not what I'm doing. And I'm just giving you the reason why we here at Wieland Builders use architects. We need a plan. Seriously, we need a plan. We need a plan to build from. So we need an architect to draw your plans, and like I said, we go through a lot of different things. When you're choosing this architect, we want to make sure that the architect is understanding what you want, and your desires. And I've been in a lot of situations where I've met with architects years ago, and they are too busy trying to show you tricks that they can do, and they're not listening to what you are wanting and writing things down and seeing your vision for this project. And I think it's very important, because this is where it starts at. This is the beginning. And if it goes bad from here and you end up with a rough looking plan, well, the house is going to be rough looking. It just doesn't change over time. So you want to make sure that you have that person who's going to be on the same page as you. And again, the way we do it here at Wieland Builders, we want as much information from you as possible. We want pictures, ideas, thoughts, anything that pains that you currently have in the house that you live in. I can't tell you how many times people bring us pictures from a home that they stayed in on vacation, and they say, look at this bathroom that we were in. Look at this shower that we were in over the weekend. Look at this, and they stay with friends or they go to a party or something. When you get into this mode of building a new house, a new home, then your eye starts looking at different things everywhere you go, and you start looking for that information. So we want information that helps us with your vision. And then hopefully that the reason you're attracted to us is to build your home was that you've seen our work, and that the way you can refer to another home that we built, or a style that we built, or something that we put into one of those homes that you liked. And you can refer back to that. We talked about custom versus not a few weeks ago, and this to me is what defines custom. This plan we are drawing is the first time we've ever built this plan or home. So there are many times that where we're going to go off of another plan that we've already built before, but I can assure you that rarely, if any, of them are ever the same plan. So it's the first time we've ever built them, and that means to me that's where it starts out as custom. Again, it's not changing the countertop in the island from Formica to granite. That is not custom. Custom homes right here starts with this architect with his drawing with a brand new plan. And hopefully, you have a creative architect, and you don't let me clear this out. You have a creative architect, and you don't wait weeks or months to get a plan back that just looks like another plan that you've already seen. And then you're going, man, what is this? I say this because it happens, and it pisses me off to no end. And so I really want to make sure that, you want to make sure that you have an architect that's listening to you. The architect and the builder should be taking extensive notes in all of these meetings. And the builder, the reason why we're there is because we're part of this team, and we're guiding everybody along the way to make sure that things are happening the way we want them to happen. That if you make a move on this plan and the architect's not going free will, and we're saying, hey, that's going to cost you more money, then I think you want that information from us. I said this a few weeks ago too. In my opinion, do not buy plans off of the internet. There's so many different home plans, websites that are out there on the internet, and they give you the opportunity to buy plans off of there. If you fall in love with a plan on there and you say, hey, I really like this, they sell the rights to it. And you can do that. You can buy it's a PDF version, and it should be an inexpensive way. And it's the right thing to do is to buy the rights to build that plan one time, and you bring it back. No matter where you build at in the country, you're going to need to build it specifically to that energy zone, because we have energy zones all the way through the United States. You're not going to build this house the same way in Florida as I would in Maine, or the same way in Florida as I would in Michigan. So there's different ways that you're going to have to build different frost lines, different codes, different structural problems. Just from Cincinnati to Cleveland and Lake Erie, there's four different energy zones. And up on the lake, those guys are building with different kind of hurricane wind loads, all kinds of that lake effect that they have to deal with up there, something that we don't have to deal with here in Cincinnati. In Cincinnati, our frost line is 30 inches, and in Cleveland, I think it's 48 inches. So it's a lot of different things that you go through. So don't think that you're going to be able to get these structural plans and just take them to somebody and go, here, build this. Doesn't work that way. So now, hey, you've met with your architect, and they're drawing your plan. And make sure you understand the timeline and what to expect and how long until you see something from them. So if you're sitting with the architect, hey, what kind of timeline are you looking at? 2 weeks, hold them to it. Make sure that they're there, because you're in this mode and your builder's in this mode, and we don't make money by sitting around doing nothing. We don't make progress. We don't make emotions fly lower if things are sitting around, nothing happening. So make sure that you understand the timeline. There's always things happening at the same time. So now, while your architect is drawing the plans, don't just sit around and wait for them. We need to get started into selections. And again, this is what we do here at Wieland Builders. So how do you do this? How do you get started into selections? Several ways, but more importantly, who is doing this with you and for you? Does your builder have a person on site or on staff who does their selections? And we have a selections coordinator / designer on staff here at Wieland Builders. And she is excellent at what she does. She's been here 10 years, and she is basically your liaison, your leader, your go-to. She's keeping everything organized, and I say it all the time, but we build the house off of what she puts down on paper, and we use the plans as just merely a suggestion. And she tells us to build it upside down. That's what we're going to do. But seriously, she keeps the projects organized and communicates all of this information throughout the team. And it's really, really important. So we also have outside designers, that work with us. And that's what they do for a living. And they're super helpful. They're great people that come along and make these projects unbelievable. And it's super helpful from bringing in the designer that will bring in the curtains, wallpaper, paint colors, going to furniture, going to, area rugs, going to different things that are going to be happening to finish parts of your house. Whereas the designers typically have an edge on them that they help with a talented eye that will help you. And as with the architect, you need to make sure that your designer, our designer or yours, are on the same page as you. They need to see your vision. They need to understand you. They're going to look for what you're going for and the look that you're going for. And more importantly, they need to understand your budget and know your budget and work within that budget. Budget. There's never a blank checkbook. I don't care if I'm building a $10 million house. It's never a blank checkbook. You're on target with everything. And this person or team needs to be engaged as early on as possible. If you can get them into the architectural meetings, then that's great. That's what you want to do. Again, this is a really big part of it, and make sure that you have somebody like this along the way. What are these designers doing? We call a lot of this selections. They're choosing your brick, paint colors, shingles, garage doors, appliances, flooring, cabinets, countertops, light fixtures, plumbing fixtures. They're bringing it all together with you. You're choosing it. They're presenting it. They're saying, hey, is this good? This is good. This looks good. This doesn't look good. Just kind of throwing out new ideas. They're up on the trends, but also still listening to what you do. So we do a lot of this in our showroom here in our office. It's a large space that has a lot of awesome materials to choose from. We also have very talented salespeople that we work for, or that work with us, that work for our flooring companies, our lighting company, our cabinet company. You deal with the owner there, and he's doing the designs on the cabinetry with you, and so much more. So you'll meet either at our place or theirs and go down through everything, and it's very detailed. It takes a lot of people to bring everything together for this project. This is the part of the builder that you may not have realized. This team of people will make or break your experience. And I think that when you think about builder, you think about the house. When all my life, and I just had somebody tell me the other day, you should do a podcast on all the things you didn't realize that you were going to have to do as a builder. HR for one of them. Ugh. But all of these things. When I was a kid, I'm thinking about slinging dirt and throwing 2x4s and nailing and cutting and just the smell of landscaping and seeing the saw go down. Those are the things. Running equipment. That's a builder. But man, that's like building the house is the fun part. All this preparatory work and all these other things and the team of people that it takes to get this thing ready to go into the ground is really, really important. When you're talking about your builder, think about that back office stuff that's going to happen. We have an agenda during our selections. She's going to follow you, or you're going to follow it, so to speak. And so the first meeting, we look at this and we give you a few things to do. We give you homework. We give you the agenda for the next meeting and what we need to order right away and what can wait. So right now, we come in here and it's oddly enough, the first things that we're trying to order are garage doors, windows, and appliances, because those are the things that take the longest to get. And while we may not be ready for all of that, we can get through it. We have a method, but we've had to since COVID and since all this crap going on in the world where you, for some reason, can't get a large piece of glass in under 2 years, then you have to make things order quickly. They need to know your budget for each category. And so I'm talking about these salespeople. If you go to our flooring company and you're out there and you have no idea what your budget is and they have no idea what your budget is, you're just slinging in the dark, and you're going to be fairly disappointed in that meeting and in the outcome of that meeting. So we need to, as a builder, make sure that everybody, wherever you go, has your budget in mind. And then, we need to do this. We need to know all these things to maximize everything that you're going to do and align you with that. A great reason to begin this right away while your plans are being drawn is that we need to make an adjustment to the plan. If we need to make an adjustment to the plan for a certain idea that we've come up with during selections, during the designing portion of it, then we can adapt the plan to it. As well, we're going to be sending the plan out for pricing once the actual construction documents are complete. And we want as many of these selection items in that final contract price as we possibly can get. The more we know your selections, the more accurate your contract will be, and which leads to less money you spend after the contract signing on things you want. Now, let's be clear that it's all relative. If you have a $50,000 allowance in there for your contract on your appliances right now, then you're going to spend $50,000. If I had $25,000 in there and you spent $25,000 after contract, you still spent $50,000. I think the disheartening thing here is that if you get presented a contract for $2 million and you come through selections and designs and you spend another $150,000 or something, you're like, man, you pulled the wool over my eyes. You sold me a bag of goods that wasn't what you said it was. Well, that's not the case. And we make this very clear, and I hope your builder does too. In that proposal phase, somebody should be telling you, hey, this is where our customers have spent more money. This is where our customers have had the opportunity to spend more money on different things. Remember, this is a custom build. We are doing what you want. We are trying to fit your budget, your wants, your needs, everything that goes into here. So whenever you spend more money, whenever you get a credit, this is on whatever your desires are, whatever your personal ideas have been to put in here. And we want to make that contract price as much, because you don't want to sign a contract for $2 million. Hey, we're building a $2 million house. And then you find out later, we're building a $2.1 million house. I think that's probably where the heartache comes from. But be clear, you're going to spend more money. You're probably going to spend more money. The chances of you not spending more money are slim. I want to be honest with this, and we're honest with our customers and making sure that everybody understands this. Now, one thing to remember this is that one of the other reasons why we want to try and keep as much of this in the contract price is if you are doing a construction loan, if you're not financing this with cash on your own and you're financing this with a construction loan, you cannot add money to your construction loan. So if you have a $1 million construction loan and you spend $100,000 after your loan has already been put into the process, after you've signed a contract, that $100,000 has to come from cash. You have to write us a check for it. And we don't accept credit cards. So that's for Wieland builders. Some of the other builders, they accept credit cards. However, they have payment plans, whatever you want to do. But remember that. So that's another reason why you want to try and get as much in on your contract price as possible. So let's look ahead and say we've gotten through architecture and your builder is putting pricing to your plans. And you may not be completed with selections yet, but you have a contract in front of you. This is perfectly normal. And you can continue to move forward. Be aware of what I said before about the additional expenses. If you know that there's some other things hanging out there that you're going to spend more money on, then just be aware of it. And everybody should be aware of it, because I don't like surprises. Maybe I do like surprises, but not this kind of surprise. So maybe everybody should just make sure you have that understanding before you do this. In a previous episode, I talked about the difference between fixed price contract and cost plus contract. This should have already been established when you were interviewing your builder. But again, the fixed price contract is where we present you with a price, a contract, $2 million, and this is what it takes to build the house. If you add or delete something, you pay the difference or you get the credit back on the difference. And the other difference is right now, and I would hope that all builders have an escalation clause in their contract because of the volatility of the market on commodity items such as steel and anything with oil in it, anything with lumber. And these are big ticket items, things that we had no idea that we were going to have an issue with are just coming up, and I mean drastically. So you need to watch that escalation clause. Make sure that it's a satisfactory to both you and the builder. The builder is putting it in there because you cannot continue to run a business and lose money on it every single day. So the builder is putting it in there to protect everybody. You have to understand the volatility of the market. You can't look at your builder and go, well, you should know that. The builder doesn't know that because the people we're dealing with don't know that. Things happen. So that's a fixed price contract. On a cost plus contract, understand what the costs are and what the plus is. So if there is some guys will come in there and they'll say, yeah, we're cost plus 12%. Well, what's the cost? Because there's guys who have insurance costs, supervision costs, overhead costs. They have every single thing in there, and their net profit is 12%. Other guys will come in there and they'll say, we're cost plus 20%. Okay, well, you're 8% higher than this other guy. Well, no, hold on. Look at the cost. Maybe he doesn't have she doesn't have the supervision in there. Maybe they don't have all of those different insurance things in there. Maybe their overhead is figured into that 20% is a combination of net and gross. So understand what the cost plus is including, and what you're paying for. Other things to look at in your contract: your insurance. How much coverage does your builder have? And are they carrying the builder's risk policy, or are you carrying the builder's risk policy? Builder's risk covers anything as we're building the house. If the place burns down, falls apart, catches on fire, things like that, things get stolen. That's the builder's risk policy. Most builders have a blanket policy that they do on their volume for the year with their insurance person. You can have that builder carry the builder's risk policy and name you as additionally insured on the project. If you're carrying the builder's risk policy, then you need to name your builder as additionally insured on there. This varies from state to state for everybody. How the contractors carry their liability insurance, the subcontractors, the trades, and versus what the builder is. All of our trades carry a liability policy, and then they also name us as additionally insured on the project. So they have different occurrences, umbrella policies, all these things that go along with it. I know in Texas, those guys are all the trades carry the insurance, and the builder doesn't have to worry about it. We in Ohio have to worry about it for everybody. And this is something you need to understand with your builder, because insurance is only if things go wrong. Insurance is not there for when things are going great. And so you need to make sure that you're covered. I have an excellent insurance person, and he's going to be a guest on this show, I hope, at some point. I'm really good friends with him. And I can't tell you, especially after joining my Builder 20 group 8-10 years ago, insurance is a big deal, and you really have to pay attention to this, because it'll just tear you up. If it goes wrong and you don't have it, you're in trouble. If you own the home site and you're doing a construction loan, your builder will have his insurance or their insurance policy, and you need to also have a liability policy on there. You need to talk with your insurance agent about this and to make sure that you're covered on everything that you need. Don't assume anything. Is there an arbitration contract clause in this contract? And arbitration is supposed to be good for both parties. I'm knocking on wood right now because I always tell everybody I've never had to use this. But it's, my attorneys look at this contract and they say, hey, you need this, this, and this. You can't do it on a handshake, although there's a couple people that one's no longer with me right now, but I've done so many deals with on a handshake, and we just agreed and we knew each other, and we talked quite a bit about things. That's a rare thing to do, and I don't suggest it for anybody, but I can do that with a couple people. But on this contract, arbitration, this means that if you and the builder cannot agree on something and you're just battling it out, instead of you guys suing each other and going on for years and years, it goes to arbitration, and there's like basically a referee that sits at the table, and you sit on one side, the builder sits on the other side, and you both state your case, and the arbitrator makes the decision on who's right or who's wrong or what has to do to fix it. Now, I've been an expert witness on trial cases. I haven't done any in quite a few years, thank goodness, which means that hopefully these builders are cruising along and everybody's getting along, and I don't have to worry about it. But I've sat in many different situations, and some of them have been arbitration, and man, I hate it. I hate it because there's communication, there's things that can happen to avoid this, but it is something that's unfortunately necessary. And I hope that you'll never need it. Again, this is like insurance. Arbitration is like insurance. I hope that you never, ever need it. How long do you have to get your selections completed? This is a conversation that needs to be had. If they don't have a limit on it, put a limit on it. If you don't want to be the one that's causing a hold up on the project, you don't want to be the one that is sitting out there and your project's at a standstill, and you're on your builder saying, what's the deal? What's the problem? Well, you haven't selected your light fixtures yet. You haven't selected your paint colors yet. You haven't selected this. And they're just pointing the finger at you, and you're going, man, I had no idea. Make sure that you understand when these things need to be done, hopefully sooner rather than later, so you can enjoy the building process, and that they can get things ordered and it's there and ready when they are ready for it. Have it all ready to go. This discussion of change orders should have been had. The discussion of change orders should have been had when interviewing your builder. But are they addressed in the contract? How are they handled? Is there a fee that goes along with them? Once again, if they don't have a change order process, you need to ask for one. I've heard stories of builders getting to the end and they hand you a final bill that is a hell of a lot more than what you had ever talked about. And you're going, what is this? I didn't sign on for this. And you're like, well, you made this change over here and nobody signed off on it. You didn't know the cost. Well, you told me you wanted to make the change. Well, you got to make sure that it's documented. Now it'll turn into a battle. Now it turns into facing arbitration. It turns into all kinds of different things. Document everything for your sake and for the builder's sake. And I really hope that the builder has everything documented for you. Is timeline discussed for everything? Make sure that you have a timeline in your mind about what this thing is going to look like. Maybe it is, maybe it isn't, but you should have a discussion and try and figure out how long the project will take and what to expect. So I talked about this before. Don't just look at, hey, it's going to take us a year. It's going to take us a year and a half, 16, 18 months to build this thing. Look at time versus how much time you or as according to how much time they need from you. So don't just look at the time it's going to take to build a project. How much time do we need from you? We need hours and hours and hours of your time for selections and meetings and contract signings and walkthroughs and different things that are happening at the site. Think about that time. Think about when you're in selections, how long is that going to take? Architect, how long is that going to take? And don't say, if they say 2 weeks and it's 2.5 weeks and you lose your lid, don't do that. Just understand that things happen. We are not computer people. We're not built by machines. This is built by people and human beings. Things go wrong. Things get held up. Things change. Weather, and the Cincinnati Reds say, weather and winning are the things that make us successful at Great American Ballpark. The building industry is not much different. Weather and winning is what we need. And when we're dancing around that stuff a lot, it gets to be tricky. Sign the contract and celebrate. Good Lord, have some fun. It's taken so much work to get here. And the reason why I stress this so much is so many times now we get to the point of contract and it just becomes, out sign us, get this out of the way and let's move forward. Keep moving. Man, it took us forever to get here. Don't do that. Let's take some time and have some fun. This is a milestone. And pop open a bottle of whatever you drink, whether it's water or whiskey and wine or champagne, and enjoy it. Go out to dinner, hug somebody, shake hands and cry if you want to, but make sure that this is a cool time. Get your picture taken with the builder. Get your picture taken at the lot. Do something, but celebrate it because it's fun. Now we've signed a contract. What are we doing now? And we're doing a lot of different things. And so if your home site is on a septic system or a private sewage system, this was hopefully being worked on and was part of the pre-construction agreement. But here in Southwest Ohio, all of our counties have a process in which this needs to be approved. You like how I went straight from contract into the sewage, but the process needs to be approved. And we always need a soil test and a design for the system. And this requires a meeting at the site with the soil scientist and approximate placement of the home and how many bedrooms you need. And there's a lot of back and forth on phone calls and emails with the particulars of the house and the soil scientist. We have 3 counties that this goes pretty smooth in, and we have takes about 2 weeks, maybe 4 weeks on the top end to get this approved. We have 1 county that will guarantee to be in permits for 6 to 8 months. They have a problem with how you spell your name on a project. It's everything up and down, and it gets ridiculous. So you need to understand this process, because the reason why I'm bringing this up is because this is one that takes a little bit longer. Hopefully you were working on this before you sign the contract, and we're getting through this and we're moving on, because we need this septic permit in order to apply for other permits. If it's sewer and water, we do it all at the same time. You're in a neighborhood, it's not a big deal, and you cruise along. The septic system can be painful. These septic systems in Southwest Ohio, they cost us anywhere from $18,000 to $100,000. So it's something that needs to be talked about early on, and this is a next step process. So we're in the construction mode now. You're still doing selections probably, but we're in construction mode. So we're getting through these things. Our goal right now is to get into permits. We need a plot plan in order to apply for our permits. And a plot plan is showing all the dimensions of the home site, whether it's a quarter of an acre or 100 acres. We need to know the placement of the site. We need to show it on there. We need dimensions to the sidelines, rear lines, front lines. We need usually some of the areas, and even for us, we need the topography, which means shows how it rolls, how it lays up and down. And we need to have all of this stuff down on paper. And this again needs to be stamped by a registered civil surveyor engineer, civil engineer who is a surveyor, stamped on his plans. They have a degree, and they have a white coat that they wear when they put these drawings together. And they're very intelligent people. So that's why they need to stamp. So now you have your septic system approved, you have your plot plan, and now you're ready to go to and apply for permits. Once the contract is signed, on the homeowner side of things, on your side of things, you need to be in contract with a loan officer, or in contact with a loan officer. If you're doing a loan, if you're doing cash, you need to have that agreement with your builder on how you're providing that cash. But that loan can take 30 to 45 days after contract to get through underwriting and get your god-awful appraisal done, and gets everything set in place. This takes time, but hopefully it takes about the same amount of time as it does for us to get our permits. So when the loan closes, we can start digging, or we can start clearing. So it just depends on, for the builder, there's a handful of approvals and paperwork that we need, for you, for the bank. The bank will usually send us all that stuff over. If we've dealt with the bank before, then everything, that's a one-time thing, but they need our cost sheet. They need our contract. They need the plot plan. They need the plans themselves. They need a lot of different information. They need us to usually fill out a questionnaire. Hopefully you don't have any issues with appraisals. Now, I've been dealing, this is another one of those podcast things that I'm going to say I never thought I'd have to deal with in my entire life. You think you have a loan officer, you think you have an appraisal person that can come out and do it, but rarely does this work out when you're out in the country. If you do, it's unfortunate, but not uncommon. If you have an issue with an appraisal, it's unfortunate, but it's not uncommon. It takes a lot of work between you, your builder, and hopefully your bank. And you guys have to work. We all have to work to try and go out and find us. These appraisers look online. They used to drive out and look at it. And I'm not a fan of appraisers right now. I haven't been for a while, but I know they've got a job to do. I know that their job probably consists of a lot more than what I think it does, but it pisses me off because the customer knows that it's worth this much. The builder, who is the manufacturer, is showing the bank what it costs to do this project. It's not like the builder is making just tons and tons of money on it, and that's why it's so much more expensive. We're showing you the cost. We're the manufacturer. The bank believes it's worth this much money. Some appraiser sitting on a computer looks it up, can't find anything, and says, nah, it's not worth that much money. And your whole deal, after you've been working on this thing for 6 months or a year or 2 years, starts to swirl down the drain. And again, it's not because the house is not worth that much money. It's because nobody gets off their butt and goes out and does the homework on what it takes to figure this thing out. So as a builder, I go out and call all my builder friends, or builders that I know, even if they're not friends. And I say, hey, did you build anything out in this area? Can I have the specs? Can I have the cost on it, the contract price on it? And I do this all day. And I just didn't say the company here at Wieland Builders, we do this. We gather as much information as we can, and we present it back to the appraiser. And hopefully that bumps the appraisal value up. The other thing you can do is just accept it. If you know that it was never going to make appraisal, you have to bring the cash to closing to bring it up. So the bank's only going to loan you a certain amount of money compared to what the appraisal price is. So they're only going to loan you 80% of the appraisal price, and you want your house is $1 million and it only appraised for 800. You're probably going to have to bring 200 to closing. It's aggravating. And can you tell that I'm going through this right now because I'm just really still a little on edge about it. Again, this doesn't mean that your home isn't worth it. It just means that you have to go do somebody else's job for you. And this is what part of the building business is. You hire somebody to do the work, you pay them to do the work, and you end up doing half the work for them. I'm bitter today. I'm bitter. We or your builder cannot start the project until the loan has been closed and completed. You can't go out and clear it. You can't go out and put the driveway in. You can't start digging. You can't do any of this thing. The bank will look at this and say, now you've done work on there. Now you owe somebody money. Now we're at the risk of having a lien filed on this, and they'll make you get title insurance on it, or they'll do something crazy. They'll basically ping you for a lot of money to just because you did something that they asked you not to. So you can't start the project until the loan is closed. So, hey, are we ready to get started? Man, I hope so. That's a lot of stuff to do. That's a lot of anything. But I always think about the painters. The painting that they do is the final thing that they do. All the preparatory work, the sanding and the puttying and the caulking and the just making sure everything's perfect before they paint. The preparatory work is harder and longer than the final job that it takes to actually do it. And that's the way building is. If you do all the preparatory work, if you do all that beginning stuff, and before you start building, it makes the building process goes a lot more smooth and a lot more special for you. So hopefully all this preparation makes everything go smoother. So that's where we're at right now. Hey, we're ready to dig the basement, and we've gone a long way here, and we've done 2 episodes. So in 2 hours, I've told you how to get there and how to start digging. I hope this is really helpful for you. I hope you can hear my sarcasm in some of this, but it's serious and for the most part, and it's really important. Make sure you document everything. Make sure you have a clear understanding of everything. Don't just roll through something and assume something. Make sure you have insurance, and make sure that you understand and document everything. Timelines, all of it. It makes everything a lot smoother. This comes with communication between you and your builder. This goes on both sides. So, hey, everybody, thank you for listening. Thank you for tuning in. And we're really excited that we can come to you and bring these ideas to you. The next time on this episode, on this show, I'm hoping to have one of our designers on here so we can talk about that selections process, and we'll know more here in the next month, into April. Our next episode will be April, the second Tuesday of April. And we're rolling on. So we'll be right around Easter when we have our next episode. Hey, have a great rest of your March, everybody. And thanks again for listening in. I'm Jeff Wieland here on a WB Download. Thanks again, everybody, for tuning in and listening to us here today on the podcast. I hope you found it informative. Like I say, it's not necessarily exciting because it's informative, and informative is not always sexy, but it is very good information. Just going to want to take you through this entire process of building the house, and hopefully you can, if you're interested in building a home anywhere in the country or anywhere you're going to be listening to this at, this is informative for you, and it helps you, and it helps your builder and makes things go smoother for you. Our next episode will air on April 11th, which will be the second Tuesday of April, the week after Easter. And I'm really hoping that my next guest is going to be Kelly Wynn from Interiors 821. She's our third-party designer that we have here at Wieland Builders, and she does a great job and just a super person, and should be fun to listen to. So, hey, make sure you subscribe to the WB Download, and anywhere you get your podcast, Google or Apple or wherever it is. Make sure you subscribe to us and like us and love us. And if you have any questions, or you want to be a guest on our show, or if you have any topics that you want me to talk about, please email me at wbdownload@wielandbuilders.com. That's wbdownload@wielandbuilders.com. And for more behind the scenes for our podcast, and to check out our beautiful homes that we build and anything going on at Wieland Builders, check us out at wielandbuilders.com, wielandbuilders.com. And you can see us on Instagram and Facebook. Thank you again, everybody, for listening. I enjoyed telling you about our processes and what should be happening. And I hope you found it informative. Thanks again, everybody. We'll talk next time.